Okay, so let's do the review on the new JT Impulse. So, JT, this is, I mean, I don't think there really has been any sort of gun that has come from JT in quite some time that was even worth mentioning. If you go on A&S Gear's website, you've got the $1,050 Impulse, or I think they've got now the $1,099 Impulse, where, you know, the new ones with the special colors, and then you've got their price point guns, which are barely worth mentioning. So the Walmart specials, you know. But you know, for those that didn't know, you know, Key took over a lot of the Smart Parts intellectual property, a lot of the patents and stuff like that. So you're seeing a lot of the what used to be Smart Parts type things like the Freak system and stuff like that is now being incorporated into Empire/Key's you know, portfolio. But so they came out with the Impulse, and you know, the nice little box here. This is nothing really too crazy. It's a lot like what you would see with the die guns. It's got a little flap divider, and then it's got your barrel. Something that was kind of interesting with this, okay? I mean, this barrel back looks a lot like the old, you know, All-American barrel backs. And it also has these little sleeves here on the side that kind of make the hint at the fact that, you know, there may have been at one time somebody kicking around the idea of including some inserts with this gun. I personally would have liked to have seen that. That would have been really nice, even if it was only 3 inserts. You know, you've got the new, you know, or the Axe PDD and the new Axe carbon fiber that sell for $200 less than the JT Impulse, and those come with inserts. So, you know, now don't get me wrong. You know, Planet Eclipse, the LV one, you know, costs $400 or $300 more than the Impulse. Doesn't come with it. You know, Dye's DM13 doesn't come with it, or you know, probably I don't even know about the 14s coming out here World Cup. You know, most high-end guns don't come with inserts. Okay, it's a very rare thing, but it's kind of a waste of space, and it's also a wasted opportunity that Key now has those patents and that intellectual property and can manufacture them, but didn't include them with this, you know, $1,050 gun. It's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it would have been something that would have been really nice, that would have swayed, you know, some people that may have been, you know, debating between the Impulse or maybe a Bob Long gun, you know, or maybe an older Ego, and would have seen, well, you know, that comes with a couple extra Freak inserts, maybe that'd be worth giving it a shot. That's just me. The next thing, you know, comes with a little Allen key set, you know, nothing too crazy. And it comes with a nice little pack of O-rings, everything you need to keep your gun up and running for quite some time. And it comes with a CD for the manuals on the CD, and a nice little barrel sock. So nothing really out of the ordinary. I didn't see any lube in the package. Probably about the only other thing that would have been in there. So let's talk about what it feels like in the hands when you're holding it. Feels good in the hands. Now this has, as opposed to the old Impulse, some things you're going to notice right away is that the old Impulse had the regulators inside of the grip frame. This one, the new JT Impulse, you know, the new JT Impulse has the regulators in the standard positions. Okay, so that's your low pressure regulator, that's your high pressure regulator. You know, it's got the macro line, which the old Smart Parts Impulse didn't do. But the one thing that it did keep, and this is crucial, is it did keep that balanced valve that, you know, we haven't seen that really in a lot of guns, you know, inside of the poppet guns. There's not a lot of balanced valves that are out there. And basically what it is, it's a valve that is designed in such a way that the air pressure coming in from your high pressure reg doesn't adjust or doesn't alter how hard it is to open the valve up. The original Impulse from Smart Parts had a balanced valve. This Impulse also has a balanced valve, and we'll get into a little bit more of that here in a little bit. The thing about the balanced valve, not a lot of people have attempted it. Bob Long attempted it with the 2005 Intimidators. Remember the Infamous and the Empire. Those didn't really sell too well. It didn't, you know, sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. but not too many companies have gone towards a balanced valve design. It's hard, it's harder to do, but if you pull it off, it works really, really well. And in the impulse, this works really, really well. But let's go ahead and get into really quick maintenance. This gun's very simple to take apart. If you've ever taken apart, any other standard poppet, there's a couple little catches here and there, but let's get the camera in a little bit closer. Let's go ahead and do our maintenance. We'll take it out, do an efficiency test. We'll do a conclusion. Okay, now we're here on this little Exalt map. Hopefully nobody's got epilepsy or something like that. I just noticed this pattern, it's kind of busy, but the other side of it is gray and you don't really see the parts very well. But okay, the one thing that kind of got on my nerves with the, impulse from the beginning when I started taking it apart, and let me get this macro line out of here, is, I've kind of lost my patience with Key in terms of them not letting people service their own regulators. And I'll show you here in a second. It's got this snap ring that's holding the regulator together, which means you need to go out and purchase yourself a pair of snap ring pliers if you plan on taking apart your regulator. And unfortunately, the only ones you ever seem to find in your local hardware stores are ones that are designed for like cars with huge holes in it and stuff like that. You need to find yourself like a little tiny pair of 0.035 inch snap ring pliers in order to get that off. But let's go ahead and weigh the gun really quick. Okay, so 1 pound, 14.9 ounces. So 1 pound, just 1 pound, about 15 ounces. So a pretty light gun. That's a very light gun, and you definitely feel it inside your hands. It's in terms of lightweight guns, that is pretty light. So I'm just gonna take the bolt out. And one thing I've noticed about the bolt, it's got a cupped face, a lot like the Cure bolts. They're like kind of the original Planet Eclipses. It's got a rounded face, just like the Planet Eclipse bolts. But one thing you notice, there is no detents on the side of it. Now that would actually work kind of nice because you don't have to worry about air passing, or going back and getting any sort of blowback and stuff like that. This uses plastic Delrin detents that are spring loaded. So, it's just one thing I noticed is that the bolt is completely smooth all the way around. Now let's go ahead and take out the ram. And push out the ram. There it is. Okay, this is nothing out of the ordinary that you've seen before. One thing that is kind of nice here is it's got this little air cushion that allows this ram to slide back and come to a nice slow stop. Inside of the ram here, let me get my rag here to clean this off. Okay, actually inside of the ram itself, there's an O-ring inside there that squeezes this piece here. So you're going to get a nice gentle deceleration when the bolt comes kicking back against your ram cap. It's really nice. And one thing I'll talk about in the thing is how soft of a shot the impulse really has. Everybody that shot the gun, the first thing they say is, damn. I mean, it really does have a soft shot. And it was nice to see that in the ram because, one of the things that you're paying for, especially on a $1,000 gun like this, is going to be how does it feel when you shoot it. Okay, so we got the ram out. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take apart the low pressure regulator. Low pressure regulator cap is reverse threaded, so we're going to tighten this to get it off. I apologize. No, it's not. I think it's the screw on the inside. Hold on. Let's pull this out. Now the low pressure regulator is dual springed, just like if you've ever taken apart a Planet Eclipse gun. You've got two springs. You've got a kind of a thinner spring in the front and a thicker spring in the rear, and that's pretty much out, and it runs on a little plate. There's a little plate down inside there. Let's go ahead and take this out. Now this is what I was talking about that was reverse threaded, is the adjustment screw. Now this kind of threw me off at first when I was at the field, okay? I mean, it should be, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. So, but as you see here, I'm turning it to the left and it's going down, the screw's going down. Now I'm going to be, you know, now I'm righty-tightying it and the screw is backing out. Okay, so that's something that I don't know exactly why they did that. It kind of threw me off when I was adjusting the low pressure regulator at the field, but you know, it is what it is. So let's go ahead and put this back together again. Okay, now let's take apart the regulator. Now this is, like I said, this is one of the things that kind of ticked me off a little bit about the regulator is the snap ring that they use to hold on this collar here down here at the bottom. And now you're going to need to get yourself a pair of snap ring pliers in order to get this snap ring off, because it's going to be clamped on there and you're not going to be able just to pop the thing off. Now granted, you may not have to get into this thing for maybe 20 or 30 cases, but you know, if you want to have a well-maintained gun, you're definitely going to want to get into your regulator at least every 10-15 cases in order to take it apart. But the snap ring is going to be on there like this. You're going to have to get yourself your snap ring pliers, spread it apart, you know, and then pull the snap ring off. And once you pull the snap ring off, now you can finally take apart your regulator, which is very easy. So you slide off this collar, okay, and then you unscrew this. And let me get my really thin needle nose pliers. All right. And that's the nuts and bolts of your regulator. So this goes like that. So that goes up inside there, that slides up on there, and then you put your snap ring into the bottom. And that's it for taking, you know, that's it in terms of taking apart all your serviceable parts on the Impulse. You will look up inside there, you will see a filter. I definitely recommend you keep that filter in there. Any sort of dirt or debris that's going to come through from your air fill station, it's going to protect your solenoid, it's going to protect the internals of it. It's a lot cheaper to replace it. You're not going to get any sort of shoot down or any of that nonsense by keeping that little filter inside there. So I definitely recommend you keep that little filter inside there. So that's about it. I'll go ahead and start putting this back together again, and then we'll get ready to take this out to the field and do an efficiency test on it and come back for the conclusion. All right, about to do the efficiency test on the Impulse, and we're sitting at about 4,100 psi. And 106 degrees. Okay, 296, 296, 295. I got a camera right behind you.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Can I borrow the gun?
What's that? So it looks like we got about 11 pods, and this one was about 10 shots out of this one. So 11 pods and a couple extra balls. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into the conclusion of the new JT Impulse. I was really impressed with the gun. Okay, now I know that, you know, pop-it guns for a lot of people have kind of gotten a little bit boring. A lot of people are going to be like, well, why would I spend the additional money over, an E-Tech that costs half as much? What makes this gun better or on par with like a Bob Long Inside or the G6R OLED, which is, I think, we're almost right up its alley in terms of price point. I will tell you that one of the things I'll go through the gun starting from back to front. One of the things I really like about the grip frame is that the grip frame, if you ever shot a die gun, that ultralight grip frame where it starts off kind of thin and gets a little bit fatter towards the bottom, the JT has that. It's got a nice little palm swell here at the bottom, which is very reminiscent of the old Aliases and the old Bob Longs. It's one of the reasons why those guns could just rip and semi-auto. It had that nice palm swell. It just put the back of the grip frame just right into your palm. Nice contour there, and just gave you a nice foundation for your fingers to get on the trigger. This gun has that, where swells up a little bit at the bottom. It's a little thin at the top. And it's nice and curved here. It's got a nice little bump and a nice little curve here that just fits into the palm of your hand great. The second thing I really like about this gun, especially with me being 6'4", is that it's not one of these little tiny minute pop-it guns, like the Ego 7, Ego 8, where it's the reg is right on top of the grip frame. Okay, it's got a lot of room here. You can put your thumb in between the regulator and the trigger guard. You can put your finger over the top if you want to. But the one thing I really liked about this gun was that, for me, sometimes with the size of my hands, a lot of times with the way I grip the gun, where I tend to put my thumb over the top of it, the palm of my grip hand sometimes gets in the way of the trigger guard. But this gun, with it being a little bit more gapped out, allows my hands to kind of separate a little bit, so that one hand's holding, the other hand's pulling the trigger, and they're not really right on top of each other, scratching up against each other. So for trigger speed, that's really nice. Now, obviously, you can't have good trigger speed without a good trigger. The Impulse has got a great trigger on it. It really does. The trigger has no side-to-side play whatsoever on it. It's just absolutely anchored into place. It's got a nice snappy feel on it. The trigger guard has got a lot of room on it. It's curved, so a lot of the where the trigger guard is at, it's nice and curved, so that when your fingers are moving around in here, you're not going to scratch your fingers up. It's just a nice shooting gun. It doesn't have like a little torpedo sticking out here. There's nothing on the front of this gun that where dirt's going to get into, any sort of air transfer lines or anything like that. It's just nice and smooth. It feels really good to wrap your fingers around it. Nothing to catch on your gloves or anything like that. It's nice and smooth around the front and underneath the LPR. You know, some people are going to grip the gun like this. Some people are going to grip it over the top. But you know, and most importantly, the shot feel when you're out there, when you're shooting, is a very, very soft shot. Okay, it's not a jackhammer like some of the E-Techs are, some of the old Planet Eclipse guns. It's just a very smooth shot when you're out there shooting it, which is really nice for a poppet. I don't know what the high pressure regulator runs on this thing. I didn't hook it up to a gauge or anything, but the balanced valve poppet, you know, the balanced valve on here, the balanced poppet works really, really well. Everyone that shot this gun was like, wow. And as you saw in the video, it's also pretty efficient too. It's very efficient. You don't feel a lot when the bolt goes forward. You don't feel a lot when it comes back. And something else that I really liked about the feed neck on this, and this is probably, if there was anything I was going to compare it to, like the G6R OLED, or even you know, the G6R OLED or the Insight. The one thing I really liked with this feed neck is that they machined a lip into the feed neck. So if your feed neck screw comes loose, your loader's not just going to tumble right off the gun. It'll actually, you know, the lip that's around here will hold it on into place, which is important. A lot of times, you know, these type of feed necks, these clamping feed necks, you know, if you don't machine a lip into there, you know, all of a sudden the instant it just comes slightly loose, it's just going to fly right off the gun. That doesn't happen with this. You can take this screw completely out, and you know, your feed neck is still not going to go anywhere, because you know, there's a lip machined in there, and it can spin and spin and spin and spin, but it's not going to fly off. And that's one of the problems I've had with the G6R and also with the Insight NG, is that once your feed neck screw just slightly loosens up, your feed neck's gone. I mean, your whole feed neck attached to your hopper is coming right off your gun. Doesn't happen with the Impulse. So, you know, is there a couple things I would have changed on it? Yeah, I would have liked to have seen some inserts in here. The fact that Key owns the technology, you know, owns the patents right now for smart parts, I would have liked to have seen inserts in the back. And then just give us 3 of them. Give us a 684, 687, and 689 insert in there. I mean, that probably would have cost Key maybe an additional 10, 15 bucks or whatever, but I think it would have gone a long way in this. You know, like I said, you do want to get yourself a pair of snap ring pliers for the bottom of it. The ASA is really nice. It's a nice, easy on-off purging ASA. Very easy to turn it. Nothing really crazy about the ASA. It's in line, so there's nothing coming out of the sides. It's a nice, you know, streamlined profile gun. But if you really like poppet guns and you want to try something that may be a little bit more, you want to try something with a little bit of a different shot, try this balanced valve, because not a lot of guns out there have that balanced valve. You definitely feel it when you're out there shooting. It's a very, very soft shot when it shoots, and it feels really good. I know the price turns off a lot of people, you know, $1,000 for a JT gun, but if you can get past that and actually get a chance to shoot one of these, I think you'd be really impressed, as I was. You know, shot tons of evil through it, no problem at all. It's just no surprises with this gun when you're out there shooting. The OLED board is nice and bright, 1-button operation, and you know, I really think it came out with a pretty good gun. It's just going to be a matter of time of whether or not, when people are deciding between, you know, a Bob Long G6R OLED or the JT Impulse or maybe an older E-Tech, you know, which one they're going to go with. But it's, you know, if I was told right now, Mike, you have to shoot an Impulse for the next 2 years, I wouldn't mind one bit. It really is a good shooting gun. Hopefully this helps you make a decision on the gun. Thank you very much.